Okay, we have here Elizabeth Fedorko. Um, this is Grandma. Grandma, what would you like to first start off by talking about? The floor is yours.
I'd like to start with my parents.
What about your parents?
They brought me up in the faith that I have today. And I pray that I could instill it in my children, in my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren, because I have been blessed so much that I pray that they will also be blessed as I was. I think bringing up with my parents, I pray that they're in heaven because they did such a great job on our family.
Do you remember any specifics about your mom and dad? Any specific stories that you'd like to share?
My dad was such a great Chardash dancer. He whipped around this swift and he whipped around left, and the way they went. They were great dancers.
Anything else like in the home? Do you remember any stories about them when you were younger? Like any fun stories, any sad stories, anything you?
Well, the rosary came on every night at 7 o'clock, and we would sit down and say the rosaries together. My parents, my mother especially, always had prayers. She would teach people how to pray the rosary, and going to mass every morning. And my dad, he worked at a plant, Central Tube. He was a pipe fitter there. I don't know how he didn't speak English, but he made the things on the pipes, and he worked there for many years until they went out of business. Then he got another job working on the boats here by the river here, McCready Rogers, and he worked there until he retired. He was a very quiet guy.
And how about your mom? Do you remember what your mom was like?
Mom always made food and was always making food and having somebody to come up to eat. Shortly before she died, one of her friends said, after Mass, she would bring them over to the house and feed them. And she said she couldn't believe that shortly after that, she died. She'd make a big pot of stuffed cabbages every Saturday night. And everybody would come on Sunday morning and have stuffed cabbages. You'd wonder, I wouldn't want to eat them anymore, but I still love them.
Not much has changed, huh? Still eating stuffed cabbages
and yeah. She always worked down at church for pierogies.
Which church was that?
That was St. Mary's Church. That's where we went. And they didn't have machines to roll out the dough or anything. There were 3 ladies there. Saika, my mom. I forget who the other lady was. And they would roll the dough and make pierogies every Friday. That's how they built that church up. called it the Pierogi Church.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, how about so your those are your parents, and then how about your siblings? How about your brother and two sisters? Would you like to talk a little about them?
Well, they were so much older than I was. They were out working, and I was still hobbling around in the kitchen. They were out working, and it was depression, and they went out to clean houses in Swickley. And my brother was a manager of the state store in Ambridge. And all I remember is going in a wagon to get food at the mills because it was depression and nobody had any money, but the plants were giving food out to everybody. That's what I remember.
With Uncle Paul, I'm just interested in maybe like if you have a story of each of your siblings when you were younger. Do you remember any stories of Uncle Paul or Aunt Mary or Auntie Annie?
Well, he always told me when he went to high school, he was late every day and they never wanted to know why. But he always went to church every morning and it was a cantor. And they never questioned him. Why are you late every day?
I guess they knew, huh?
Yeah.
How about Aunt Mary when you were younger?
Aunt,
Do you have any?
Aunt,
Mhm.
Aunt Mary, she worked all the time. She was a cleaner upper. Yeah, she always told me what to do, clean the bathroom up and do this. I guess I didn't do such a good job, but she'd always check me out. Yeah, and and I don't. They just went out to work, and I don't remember too much
Okay.
because I was much younger than they were, maybe 8 or 9 years.
Hmm.
I came along.
Now, how about this is something I'm not sure about. Did your mom and dad have any miscarriages?
No, but the last baby, I remember they said it was a little boy and he wouldn't be coming home. He died. I just faintly remember that she told me that because I knew that we were going to have a baby, but it never came home. So they must have just buried it because
Hmm.
they were. I remember her being in the hospital, so she must have had a midwife there or something,
Hmm.
and that's the way they had. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, we had a baby. They called him Johnny. The name was John.
Do you have any memories of when you were younger during the Great Depression? Any other stories that you'd like to share about those crazy times?
All we did was have chicken every day. We had chicken soup every day, and we'd get flour from the plant. And mother would make homemade noodles, and she used the chicken legs. I don't even see them in the stores. They must use that for dog food or something. Um, oh, it was so good. I still love homemade chicken noodle soup. But my family, Nancy and Paul and Mary, they were not much soup eaters. I guess we got enough, but I always liked chicken noodle soup. And if we ever had anything different than chicken soup, I knew we had money. she would make kidneys, big kidneys,
Yum.
or um, pig's feet.
Did you like that stuff?
I still love it. I make it
Ah.
once a year. I make it once a year. And when she made it, nobody wanted to eat it but me and my dad, my brothers.
Well, next time I'm up there, we'll have to eat pig's feet together. That's what we'll do.
Oh, I love it. You know what it's like? It's like
What?
jello. You cook it for hours, 8 or 9 hours with garlic, and then you put it in the refrigerator, and it's like jello.
Too much work for me. 8 hours. I'll just put some pierogies in the microwave.
Easier. Uh,
Well, okay. How about elementary school? Do you remember your elementary school days and high school and
well,
what was
I
that like?
lived I lived at a place on 11th Street where they sent me to one school half a semester, and they sent me to another school the other semester. They wouldn't be doing that with a kid today, I'll tell you. It's a wonder I graduated from high school, what they did to me. They sent me there after I learned all those kids. Then I had to go the other way to Fourth Ward. I was Second Ward and Fourth Ward. And that's how I went to, to school.
Do you now looking back at your school then and looking at how your children went to school and also what school is like today, what do you think? Do you think that education has gotten better? Do you think it's gotten worse? What do you think?
Well, I'll tell you what, they didn't teach me anything about my body. I know I could tell you that. I never knew what a gallbladder was, and I'm in a 94 or 93. These kids today, they know everything about sex. I never learned anything about my body. I don't know what I learned.
Do you wish that you had learned about sex when you were younger?
No, I don't, not especially sex. I don't need, I didn't need to know that, but I'd like to have known what the liver does, what the kidneys do, what the purpose of the, um, uh,
Yeah, just all the different organs.
um, what did I have on surgery? Um,
You-
Gallbladder.
Yeah.
What was the purpose of the gallbladder? Everybody you talk to now, oh, I had that done. I had that done. Like when Father Mike came to visit me, he said, "Hey, Lizzie, it's no problem. They just put a hole in there and they take it out and you'll be fine." He says, "I have it done." It seemed like everybody had it done. I was the last one to have it done. And they forgot how to do it when they came to me.
All the cool kids are
I was,
doing it
I was
now.
in there 5 months. I was in here 5 months. And my lady at the pierogies, she had it done in the morning and she was home that afternoon. I said, "What happened to me?" They must like something about me. They kept me.
So I think now in high school, right? We're arriving at your favorite time when you went to hairdressing school, correct? Do you want to talk about your favorite time?
Oh, please. I don't want to see a pair of scissors. It's so funny because John Edmondson was cutting Graham's hair the other day when we were there. He was cutting, and I says, "Here's a person that went to school for that. I don't want to have anything to do with the scissors."
Well, could you tell the story of how you even got into hairdressing school?
Well, I got in there because my sister-in-law and my brother's wife, Aunt Syke, was pregnant, and they thought it would be a good idea if I went to beauty school called Politology, and then I could take over the business. because she had uh, a good business, thriving business. So when I went to school, 11th grade, instead of being home having a vacation, I went to school for 3 months in Pittsburgh to learn permanent and all this about the hair. And then I went back to high school, finished my 12th grade, and then I went back to finish another 3 months.
And you just did not. Why didn't you like it?
I had no, even now, I don't want a pair of scissors in my hand. I hated it. So I was very unhappy because when I went to school, I wanted to do something in the school system, working in an office at school. Uh, so I took typewriting, shorthand, and everything for the business that I was interested in.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah. Hmm. Now, when you were in high school, did you ever have a boyfriend?
hmm. One of the strangest thing is the guy that asked me to go the ninth grade prom was named Frank Priest. And I got a gown and I got everything ready to go to the prom. And my brother would not let me go to the prom with him. So I had to tell the kid, I'm not going, can't go. And kids then, they didn't have a car. We would have to walk. And he lived in Leedsdale. They didn't have a school then. They had to come to Ambridge. And so I went to the prom by myself with my friends, my girlfriends, and then he brought me home. Big deal. That was my prom. I, I'm not, I'm not, I'm not going to tell anybody else no. So I just, yeah.
Oh. Hmm.
No, that wasn't the ninth grade. That must have been the 12th grade prom. Yeah.
Hmm.
But he was very strict. I don't know what he thought I was going to do. Or, yeah. It's not
Sounded,
like today.
hmm. How so? What do you think of today versus back then with the prom? Oh, could you sorry, I can't hear you.
Um, well, today, guys have cars. Um, it's a different situation today than it was then. Now, Nancy went to the prom. Raymond didn't go to the prom. I don't think Mary went to the prom. Jimmy went to the prom, but they had a car. They rented a car in a two couples. Him and Mike Dunn went for their prom, but today is absolute completely different. I wouldn't know.
What is it about today? What is it about today that kind of rubs you the wrong way?
Everything,
Could you
everything, everything rubs me the wrong way because I only have one way to go, and it's straight, no left or right. You can't get anywhere unless you're going straight.
Okay, so we're gonna now, right after graduation, after you graduated high school and you went to hairdressing school and decided you did not want to do that, what did you do after that?
Nothing. Where could I go after I didn't have anything, uh, no business to go to after I went there? I worked at the beauty shop for a little bit, And I told him, told her, I said, I don't like it. And I know the people that I did weren't satisfied with me because I know I didn't like it.
Hmm.
And that if you don't like something, you're never going to be good at it. So I said to myself, if I ever have any kids, I'm never going to tell my kids, you got to do this or you got to do that. If he wants to be a garbage man, he's going to be a garbage man. But I'm not going to tell him or her or whatever, what to do, because you'll never be top in your job if you don't like what you're doing. And that's what we had. All those boys, I never cut their hair. Frank cut their hair. I wouldn't put a pair of scissors in my hair. I don't care what kind of haircut he gave him. I would not.
Hmm.
Mm-mm.
So now, how long after graduating high school was it before you met Pop Pop?
Well, the war was over. I graduated in 44. The war was over in 43, right?
I think 45.
Maybe you're right. Yeah. There wasn't any place to go because there weren't any guys around. The girls, we hung around together. We sat at the drugstore, had a soda or ice cream. At the print shop, we'd go there on the corner, had ice cream. And then when the guys were coming home, they started to have dances. The church dances, American Legion had a dance, UNA had a dance. Everybody had dances. So uh, the three of us, we were always together. We were like the Three Musketeers. So we went to dances, and we went to a church dance, the three of us. And Frank came in with his buddy, and he came over and asked me for a dance. And I knew he had enough to drink, so I was backing off, and there's people around. They would sit around in chairs, and people would see everything that's going on. It's not like today, but in those days they sat around, and I was embarrassed because he was pulling me out and I was backing off. So they said, go dance with him, and I did. And that's the first thing he said to me was, "Where have you been all my life?" Yeah. So
And he was a good dancer, huh?
yeah, yeah.
Now, after how long after you met Pop Pop, did you marry him? Did you guys date for long?
Well, uh, we got married in 49. About 2 years, he knew where I was every dance. He never had asked me for a date because he knew where I was. So he'd go there and end up with me dancing all night. And of course, if he'd come and I was already dancing with somebody, that was the last time that guy danced with me, because I had every dance with Frank, and he was a good dancer, so I didn't mind. And then my girlfriend and her boyfriend, Mike Savy, asked us to go to a nightclub in Pittsburgh. And we went there to dance. And that's where it really started, where he would come down and pick me up and take me out. But he did not have a car. He knew better with his drinking that he shouldn't be driving. So he lived one block from here. up on a hill, and I lived all the way down by the bridge on 11th Street. And he would come down every first Friday. They would have a special mass at 6:45, and he came to pick me up every 6:45 every first Friday. And I knew that he wanted to change, so that's then I
Wow.
got more serious with him, you know.
Did Pop Pop did his drinking get better before or after you got married?
It quit after we got married. In the 50 some years we were married, I would say he was drinking 5 times,
Wow.
and that's all. But he went to church every morning, and the priest would ask him, "Are you going to work or are you coming home from work?" Because he was always in his white pants, white plastering clothes. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Did Pop Pop always plaster? Did you always know him to do that?
He started in 49. When he came home, he got a job at Robertson's for one day, and he quit because his leg, he said, they gave him the worst job because his leg was full of shrapnel, and they couldn't take it out because he wouldn't be able to walk, or it would be worse. So he just lived with the shrapnel in his leg the whole time. So then he had a chance of going to school, the GI Bill of Rights, either to be a plasterman or a tailor. So he would ask me, what I said, you do whatever you want to do. That. So he picked plastering, and he had his first job. He bought a truck for $500, and that's how he started.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so then after you guys got married, um, did you live in did you live in the house you live in now when you got married?
So my mother had an apartment there. My sister Mary lived there, and they built a house. And his brother lived here, John. His wife died, so he moved out. So this house was empty, and my sister moved out. So we moved. We when Mary moved out, we moved there when we were first married, and then we had Nancy there, and then we moved here when Raymond came, because we only had one bedroom in the kitchen, so we didn't have.
Hmm.
Yeah, so we've been up here since.
Did you do you remember meeting Pop Pop's parents? Did you get along with them?
Yeah, yeah, they were very nice. He was very quiet. Frank said that his dad couldn't even sign a check. He just put an X or something on there. But he was very quiet, and his mother was very quiet too. I guess she wondered, boy, what is she getting? What is she getting into? But I fooled them all because his own brother said, "Take him, because we can't do anything with him." That is faith, and that is prayer.
Are you talking about the drinking? Is that something? Yeah. Could you talk a could you talk a little more about how you believe that faith and prayer helped to save Pop Pop and his drinking problem?
It's only through it's only through prayer and faith that you could get anything done. I had a friend Her son was in.
Oh, sorry. I'm having a little trouble hearing you, Grandma. Could you?
That's my throat too.
Okay.
I have a friend that her son was on drugs, and we prayed for him to Padre Pio for about 7 years. And she kept saying, Liz, he's never going to quit. And you know what I said to her? You're telling God that he can't do it. You're telling God, you're praying for him one side of the mouth, and on the other side of your mouth, you're saying he can't do it. You have to have faith. Well, that guy is married and has a baby. And I always told her, when you tell God you can't do it, it's only through prayer and faith. You have to have faith to believe that he could do it.
For you, Grandma, what is the hardest part about having faith? What is the hardest part for you?
The hardest part for me with having faith, I want more time for prayer. I would love to go to church every morning like I used to, and I can't do that. I feel like I don't give enough time for all the blessings that I've had. I don't know if I'm deserving of it. Is that why he made me live longer? Those 5 months that I thought, I don't know, everybody says I was bad. When everybody came home to see me, they moved everything, a lot of stuff out of the house because they thought she ain't coming back. And he said, not yet.
Wow.
So the purpose, I don't know, but I don't pray for myself. I just pray for other people. People call me and ask, will you pray for Amy? Will you pray for Tamara? Will you pray for Brian and all these names? And that's who I pray for. Now I got a new one, Ken. I don't need anything. I don't need anything.
Wow. So then after, thank you for sharing that. Um, so then after you guys got married and moved into your house, you had several children. Do you want to tell me about all of your children that you had and maybe a little story about them?
I can tell you they're all different. They're all being loved. I can't say, nobody says I could love one more than the other because everybody is the same. I just hope and pray I said it before, I'll say it again, that my children, that I could pass on the faith. I can't give them any money. I don't have any, but I have a lot of prayers. I have a lot of time to pray now. He gave us the virus. He's given more people time to stay home. Don't say, I have to go here and I have to go there and I have to go here. He gave us the time now to stay home and spend some time with him. That time will not be wasted. The time will not be wasted. And I pray that all my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren, and the children coming up, that they will never forget where they came from.
Yeah. Um, do you have any stories or memories of any of your kids that you want people to remember or hear from you? Any times they misbehaved or any times that they made you laugh?
I'll tell you, I used to smack them, and my fingers would get all purple, black and blue, and they'd be sitting in a chair laughing at me. And I says, wait a minute, that's, I got more punished than they did. So what I would do, I'd put them in a chair, and I had a clock. And I'd say, when that thing gets on a 5, you can get off when that handle gets on a 5. And if you keep crying, it's going to go one more time. So they quit crying so they can get off that chair sooner. They figured that one out. And I never had trouble with my kids talking back to me. If I'd say, will you empty the garbage? They never said no, or I'm not going to do it. It maybe never got done, but they never said, I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? They don't have to know that. But they did help. They did help. When Monday came, I had to go down the basement and wash clothes. So for Mondays, I always had something real easy to make, because usually when they went to school, I had a big pot of mashed potatoes peeled so we can have mashed potatoes. Maybe that's why they don't like mashed potatoes, especially the one that's walking around here. If I make 3 potatoes, I end up throwing some out because we can't get rid of 3 potatoes. But and then on Tuesdays, I ironed, and I would have clothes all over the dining room table, and they had to sort the clothes out and take them and put them in their drawers. And they knew that, you know. But and I take them swimming every morning at 10 o'clock in the morning so they could learn how to swim, because I did not learn how to swim. And that's one regret in my life, that I don't like the water and I don't like swimming. So the Nancy went up, the instructor said to me, this girl will never learn how to swim. I said, well, she's going to come up here every day at 10 o'clock until she knows how. So she did. And I'd take Raymond up 10 o'clock every morning and right down the line. And they'd get mad because they all had to go. You know, I couldn't leave the little ones here and take so we all had to go to learn how to swim. I said, everyone is going to learn how to, and they do. They all know how to swim, but we'd go to Zielinopol every Sunday swimming, and I'd sit out in the grass, and I wouldn't go near the water.
Dad always talks about how on Sundays you guys would all hop in the truck and take a little drive. Could you do you have any memories of
You know, it
this?
was a station wagon.
Oh, the station wagon.
Yeah, because his truck was full of plaster. We had a station wagon, and they all got in the station wagon, and we went every that was our vacation every weekend.
Where would you guys go and what would you do?
We went to Zielinopol every Sunday swimming. and then we'd go out to eat. And then, of course, in the winter time, we just go out for a ride and stop to eat someplace.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
Now, throughout your years, did you travel much? Were you ever interested in traveling someplace or?
never had any of that. Only when I took the kids back to school and from school, uh, we would go. Like when Ray went to Europe, we took half of the kids, taking them on a train, and then the next time we went to pick them up, we took the other three, or whatever was,
Mhm.
yeah. But and then when we took Mary Margaret to Smith College, that's what we did. That was our vacation. We would stop there and stay overnight because that was a long drive. Yeah.
So then, after all of the kids were grown up and out of the house, what did you do then with all that free time on your hands?
I went out to work to babysit.
You couldn't get enough.
My kids thought I was crazy. My friends thought I was crazy. They said, you after all those kids and you're going to. I said, you know what? If we were younger, we would have had another 6 kids because we loved them. And so I worked for Dr. McLaughlin. He was a dentist. I took care of his two children. I took care of Steinis's children too. And then I got a job with the Pattons. And I was there. The baby was 3 months old when she went to work. I was only there a couple days a week because she didn't know me from Adam. She even told me, she said, I didn't know you. I was afraid, you know. I said, why did you even hire me? She says, when you told me I'll take the job if I can go to church in the morning before I come. She says, that sounded pretty good. I says, I will not take the job if I can't go to church first. And Mass was at 6:45. So
Wow.
I would have to get up early here to get dressed to go to church. And then I would go right after communion, I would go right to the house. And she says, and you had 6 kids? She says, it sounded pretty good to me. So then I end up being there every day.
How many years were you there?
The baby was 3 months old when I started, Brittany. She had 2 girls after that. I was still there. The oldest girl started Bucknell, and that's when I told her that I would have to leave because Frank wasn't feeling good and I would have to leave.
So
So when they got married, I was sitting at the head table. I said, I don't want to sit here. She said, you raised my kids. She said, you're sitting here. Yeah. Yeah.
so it's like you raised like 2 families, huh?
Yeah.
So I guess then after all your kids were gone, and then after all the Patton kids, after Brittany went to Bucknell, right? That was when Pop Pop's health was kind of going downhill. Could you talk a little bit about that time in your life and how what was happening with Pop Pop and how was that affecting you?
He was walking with a cane, and he still wanted to go out to have coffee. So I would make a nice dinner, and he says, well, let's go out. to eat. And I says, well, I have a big dinner here. He says, well, we'll have it for tomorrow. So I said, okay. So we'd go out to eat. And then the next day, the same thing. Let's go out to eat. I says, well, we have dinner from last night. But he liked to go out, and the guys that, the contractors and that, he would like to, they sat and they talked, and he enjoyed that. And then all of a sudden he just, he took a bath that night. It was a Friday, December the 13th, Friday. And he was always so superstitious, and I wasn't. That never bothered me, walking under a ladder or anything. So, and he shaved, and we were talking, where are we going out to eat? And I said, should we go out to eat first? Or do you want to go to the hospital first to check your cough? He says, well, let's go to the hospital first. So we went to the hospital, and he never came out. He stayed overnight, and he was there maybe like for, I don't know, a week or a couple of days. And he came home, and we had the bed in the living room, and that was it.
Was this a hard time for you? How were you feeling during all of this?
Yeah, it was a hard time. I never wanted to go out because the kids were home, like for the holidays, and they went to Nancy's, and they wanted me to go. And I says, no, I'm staying here with Dad. And I never went any place. And Jimmy was home. He says, let me take you, let's go out for breakfast. And I didn't want to go after church. And I didn't want to go. And that's when he died. It was a Sunday after church. And it was December the 13th. And we buried him New Year's Eve. The time that we always look forward to going out dancing. That's when he died. Yeah. It
I
was such a
remember.
short time. Short time. It was, I couldn't believe when they said he had cancer that quick. And he always never complained about anything. And we always went out.
I remember that too. The whole family was home that Christmas.
Yeah.
Mhm. So then, after Papa passed away, what were things like for you then? How did things change for you?
Awful hard, I can tell you. Yeah,
I'm sorry, could you speak a little louder, Grandma? I'm having a little
it
trouble
was
hearing you.
hard because, you know, Ray was out of town. Jimmy's out of town. David was out of town. Everybody was out of town. And Tommy and Nancy, you know, were around. And then they must have gone to Florida. I don't remember. But your whole life changes, after you've been married for that many years. And that's why when I talk to my kids, I say, if I'm talking to her, I say, are you still in love with David? I say to Jimmy, when I ask Smotria, how's Jimmy? And she says, well, I don't know. I says, why don't you know? You have to talk. You have to act like you just met each other. Have that same feeling. You can't let it go away. Take her out on a date. Because when one leaves, Dad and I, we were always together. My girlfriends, we played cards together. And one of the girls had a place in North Carolina or someplace. And she wanted us all to go there. to play cards and see her place. Well, most of the girls, they were going to go, but I couldn't go. Frank, she said, no, you don't need to go. You know, he always wanted to be. Nancy said, that's the way John is. You know, but he's not like, because she goes out a lot by herself. I never did because Frank always, I don't know, he always wanted me around.
So how do you remember how old you were when Papa passed away?
About ages. How old I am today, till somebody told me.
And the
Or
answer to
my
that is
kids. I don't know
95.
how old my kids are either. When they say 65, I said, what? Because when they were all growing up, I said, I'll never live to see them grown up. Never. And we never had a babysitter. Never had a babysitter. It was either me or Frank. His mother, no. My mother, no. Mm-mm.
Now, now that you are in your 90s, how are your 90s different from other times in your life?
Tell you, I really slowed down. I didn't go for the paintbrush and a gallon of paint down in the basement, paint the house. I painted the living room. I moved the furniture around. When Frank would come home, he'd say, well, you got to leave the light on when I come home because you moved the furniture. I don't know where to sit. I just get up and paint.
Well,
I didn't sit around doing nothing like today. I do one thing and I have to rest. Then I get up and I do something else and I got to rest. It's not like it used to be, but I'm blessed every morning. I say that prayer. You have given me another day, untouched and new. Forgive the many errors that I made yesterday, and let me try to get closer to you today. You and I both know I can't make it on my own. So take my hands and hold them tight, for I can't walk alone. And I'm so blessed that somebody doesn't have to stay with me all the time and watch me and feed me. Like when I came home, I couldn't even get in bed by myself. I've come a long way. When I was in the hospital, all I ever heard was say, you gotta eat. And they brought the meat, the tray, and I turned my head. I don't know how. They said I was so swollen. I don't know. But I'm here. So when I get up in the morning, I thank God. I don't do what I used to do or what I want to do, but I do what little I can. And what I can't do, I just let it alone. Ray helps me a lot. Don't tell him. Yeah. But I could have been in a nursing home. I'm blessed that I know who I am and who my kids are. That's the biggest blessing there ever is, or was, or ever will be. I have friends that I lost, but they didn't even know who I was. but I'm here. And he says, not yet.
Do you have um, anything that you want to say to your children and your grandchildren and your great grandchildren who are watching this? And anything that you want to say to them that you think is important?
My grandchildren, I would say, always keep in touch with your parents. They go away at school or they're out of town. You might not think that your parents wouldn't like to hear from you, even if it's 5 minutes. Take your time and call your parents up and let them know that you're still in their lives. Just because you're away at school or you're married or whatever, that is so important to parents. You might not think it's, eh, but it is. You don't have to spend 10 minutes with them, 15 minutes with them, but give them a call. How are you? Goodbye. Let them know. And I always say, keep Christ in your life, because if you don't, you're going to be in trouble.
To me, whenever you say that, keep Christ in your life, I always think, what would Jesus do in this situation? You know, what is what is the good thing to do, and to be as kind and loving to others as I possibly can. And you've been an amazing role model in that way. You really have, and you've been an amazing role model for all of your children and your grandchildren, and now your great grandchildren that are now popping out all over the place. And
Yeah, I had to wait to be what, 93 before I got them.
well, now you're 95 and you still have a little bit to go, Grandma. So
Out of 3 children, how many grandchildren did I have?
how many do you have?
One.
I
I have
think.
3 grandchildren.
Oh, that have
How many?
I see. Oh, you have
I have
five
three
now, right?
grandchildren. We had 6 kids, and these people, they had 3. Nancy uh, had 3.
Oh, I see. Renee,
Raymond
Ryan,
had
and Rita.
1. 13. We had 13 grandchildren.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have. I have 12 cousins. Yeah. Wow. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share or that you feel like you've forgotten that we didn't touch on that you wanna? I mean, we went through a lot. But any other thoughts?
A grilled cheese sandwich?
Yeah.
You want
Oh,
pickles?
yeah,
You want
I was gonna say pickles. Only if you got some pickles.
pickles? How about the tomato? Oh,
We got to
Lord.
make some borscht. Next time I'm back, we have to make some borscht.
Yeah, I got a recipe from somebody, and they want me to use dried mushrooms.
Really?
Yeah,
We've
I
never
didn't make
tried
it.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't tried that yet. The mushrooms.
You know what? I make dried mushrooms on Christmas Eve, and nobody likes it.
You know what?
So
Yeah.
I'm afraid to use it. I like dried mushrooms because I like that sauerkraut soup, but nobody. I used to make a big pot, then I've dwindled. And John Edmondson says I eat everything, but that I can't eat. So I made a smaller pot, and then I
We got to get
put
Uncle John some of those spicy wings for Christmas. That's next. That's next up.
red hot peppers, red
Yeah.
hot.
But okay, Grandma. Well, I think that's it, huh? What do you think? Dad, are you there? Do you have any other thoughts or Oh, I can't hear him.
That's good. An hour is good.
Yeah, that was just about an hour. It was
Yeah.
like an hour
Yeah.
6. Okay. Well, if there's anything else that we could do, I mean, we can always do another one some other time. You know what I mean?
Good.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Papa. Something is up, I think.
Well, how's this any better?
Yeah, that's fine. That's good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm off to the side. So no, that's good. So what are your plans for today, for the rest of the day?
Oh gosh, what am I doing?
Especially whenever it's
Today's
90 degrees.
yeah,
We had our 90-degree week, and I'll tell you, it really there's not much to do.
I got up today and did my run. I did my writing. I still have a few things to do on my to-do list, but this was really the top of my priority list today. This is just it's just so great that this happened, and you know what? I'm gonna post it to YouTube, and you can watch it within like the next half hour if you want to.
I'm busy.
We're going out. We're going out to eat.
Oh,
Go down to the
This-
food truck at the Ultra Genius, a new brewery.
ooh,
Yeah.
I want to go. Have you been down there, Grandma, to the new brewery?
No, they didn't take me. They said they don't have enough money for what I'm drinking, a shot and a beer.
There's no shots.
Oh, no shot.
Aw, I'm not going.
Okay.
They don't have it. You're not going. Okay.
Okay, Ken.
All righty. Well, I'll
Okay, well, you have a great night.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
And
thanks.
yeah,
yeah.
we'll be
We'll
talking. Nice to
we'll
see
have
you.
this now. Yeah, we'll have this now, Grandma, you know. So,
Okay.
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 All right,
Take
I'll
care.
see you
Love
guys.
you.
Love
Okay,
you.
love you.
Bye.
Keep Christ in your life.
Thanks, Grandma. Mwah. Bye, Papa.
Bye. Love you.
Bye-bye.